Oh, wait.
Nope.
Oh,
Okay.
I am.
Okay, hey,
This one, though.
guys,
Okay, listen.
We're not gonna get anything.
so, first thing I'm gonna say is you have homework tonight, and it is 21 questions, no, 24, 19 questions, sorry, I can't do my math. 19 questions for homework, which is more than I usually give you. There is no reason we don't finish what we need to get done and give you 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the period. So the only way we wouldn't get through what we need to get done, and you have to do this all at home, is if we can't stay on task today. So, I did forget to write on the board, can you please open your packet to page 21, the page 21 that's here on the board that we did on Friday.
Let's do 21.
I know, it's the 21 we did on Friday. So this one that's on the screen. So we started talking about phases of the moon on Thursday. And what we did on Thursday and at the beginning of Friday was we talked about what each moon phase looks like. How can I identify a crescent, everyone?
You have to look at it.
Yep, what does a crescent look like, or what?
Let's see.
It does look like a V. Is the light part or the dark part a V? Light. So I describe the crescent as the mostly dark. How do you figure out if it's a gibbon?
It's like the dark part.
Yeah, it's almost a full moon. Good. So I referred to it, I gave you the hint that the letter G is almost a full circle, just like a gibbous is almost a full moon. And then the other one that people screw up is the quarters. What do those look like?
Half.
Half and half. How do we tell the difference between waxing and waning, Mr. D? He's all set.
Waxing is on the right. Like on the
Yep. Waxing, the light is on the right. Waning, the light is on the left. So you gotta be able to do that. In fact, let's test that skill right now. And on the bottom of this page, I can't show it to you because mine's filled in. On the bottom of this page are the 8 phases of the moon. Can you please label the 8 phases of the moon on the bottom of this paper?
Yeah.
Yeah, do it. So this is the first thing you have to be able to do with moon phases, is see a picture of the moon. So, now I see you guys doing it a couple different ways. Sorry, no, here's what I want you to do. You got those blank boxes on the bottom. Cover up the top half. So do this, cover up the top,
Oh, 8.
and try and do them from memory by looking at them, all 8. Yes, I don't have a blank one, I don't think. Oh, there we go.
Wait, what?
So here's what I want you to do. Just look at the bottom of page 21, these empty boxes, and name the phases of the moon. Try and do it without looking at the top of the page. I know, and when you miss school, you miss me.
Yeah, 3 days of school.
I know Thursdays.
Okay. Okay. Don't forget, you do need the waxing and waning labels for the crescents, quarters, and gibbous.
When it's like half, what we call it, half moon is that.
And so it looks like it's half a moon, but remember, it's really called a quarter because it's half
Yeah, but people
of
call
the half. No, well, people are wrong when they call it a half moon. The real name of that moon is a quarter.
25 days, the real half moon is the full moon.
Right, the real half would be the full moon. So why the rule does not apply for that one and it does for half, the quarters, I don't know. I'm not in charge. I just know the real name is quarter and the real name is full moon.
Oh,
No, you will need that. That's the next step. This is a letter, it looks like the letter C. So what moon is the letter C? Yeah, that
It's a
looks,
full moon.
yeah, that looks like all of it's
It's the
showing.
white side is the lake. That's the type of sea.
Okay. Okay.
Five is full. New moon, yeah.
Are they both?
This one's not a- Let's see how it is when we start. Okay, do we need some more time? I see that you're good, because you're just doing it.
Next one is.
Well, this is not a well. When you see them almost as a full moon, that's gonna be the letter G one.
That's what we choose back
When it's almost a full circle. Okay, well, let's see how you did. So remember the phrase I was using when we were going over these, is the moon mostly, is it all light, all dark, mostly light, mostly dark, or half and half? So we see this first one, and again, you ask yourself those 5 questions, all light, all dark, mostly light, mostly dark, or half and half, and you see that moon number 1 is all dark. That is the new moon. It's new because it has nothing's happened to it yet. Which one's the full moon then? 5 is the full moon because it's all the way shiny. So now we're on, sorry, I know I've just skipped around for some weird reason, but now we're on number 2. Again, you ask yourself, all light, all dark? Nope. Mostly dark, mostly light, or half and half? This one is, answer my question, mostly light, mostly dark, and yes, crescents are mostly dark, and is this going to be a waxing or a waning?
Waxing.
Waxing, how did you know?
Light is on the right.
The light is on the right, so we only care about the light. When we say light on the right, we care about the light part, the side that's not shaded in. So here's that one that you want to call a half moon, but this is the quarter. You cannot call it a half moon.
Well, if you're sitting out there, you're like, something's gonna come and like, bring you to jail if you call it half moon.
You're gonna get a 0 if you call it a half moon. So if this is,
What if you're by yourself in your backyard looking at the moon?
why not just practice the correct information, okay?
Okay.
All right, then we've got this guy right here. Again, mostly light, mostly dark, half and half. Mostly light, in fact, the way I described it is it's almost that full moon. It looks very similar to the full moon, just missing a little bit. So that's again where the letter G comes into play. The gibbous, the G, I don't see a G. What I see is the letter G is almost a full circle. It's just missing that little tiny bit to make it a full circle. If I took off that part and put it up there, it'd be a full circle. So a gibbous is almost a full moon. It's almost a full circle. So I don't see a G. Yeah. I'm glad you, does it make sense now why I say that? Yeah, so it's almost a full moon, just like the G is almost a full circle. And I don't know if you guys said it, waxing or waning? Waxing. Again, we need to only look at the light part. Now, a lot of people get the crescents and the gibbous confused because it's just reversing the which side's light and which side's dark, and how, not which side's dark, I'm sorry. The waxing crescent, it's only a little bit light, whereas the gibbous is only a little bit dark. So people confuse those a lot. Make sure that you pay careful attention to which one's a crescent and which one's a gibbous. So speaking of, what's this one?
Gibbous.
That's a gibbous. It's a waning gibbous.
Waning gibbous. It's like I got 100.
How about this guy?
Waning quarter.
Waning quarter. If you had already learned the phases of the moon correctly, this one would have been the first quarter, and this one is technically the third quarter. So if you know about the first and third, then go with it. If you don't know anything about them, just stick with waxing and waning, because the Regents is good at with waxing and waning. And then
Waning
finally, what's this one?
Waning crescent.
Waning crescent, yep. Okay. So there are 3 things about phases of the moon that you have to be able to do. That's one of them. If you see a picture, you need to be able to name them. The second thing you have to do is what we started on Friday, which we're gonna do again. If I point to any one of these phases, you need to be able to figure out and name that name of that phase of the moon. So we're gonna practice that again. So did everybody pick up this sheet of paper up here? If you didn't, there's some right there in the blue bin. And if you notice, it looks very similar to what we did on Friday. It's practically the same picture. But I think I mentioned this on Friday, is that they're going to do things to mess with you. And the Regents always does stuff to mess with you. So one thing you could do with the phases of the moon is learn the order that they go in. Kind of like this. They start off all dark, start getting a little bit lighter until they get to a full moon. Then they start getting a little bit darker until they get back to a new moon. You can memorize that order. I caution people about memorizing the order because the Regents will do things to mess with you, like changing what side the sun is on, or changing which one is number 1. So in the page that we did on Friday, they had the sun coming from the right, and moon number 1 was conveniently lined up with the new moon. Well, I'm gonna mess with you right now. Let's take it, and you guys have to add in the sun on this worksheet. So this is the sun. Notice it's coming from the left. So add the sunshine coming in.
The sun.
So the sun's coming from the left on this one. What? Okay, that's the difficult part. So it looks like, hold your pen, go ahead and hold your pen. You're right-handed. So if you're always holding your pen in your right hand, that's your right hand. It gets easier once you get married because your ring goes on your left hand, so you just remember that. Other than that, I got nothing for you. Yeah, don't forget oh yeah, you could get a little tattoo that says left and right. That's a good choice.
Remember because I.
Well, then you got the L's in case you don't know the trick. So when you make L's with your thumb and your finger, the one that's you forget which one's really an L. Says, are you in honors ELA? Okay, so you should probably know what a capital L looks like then.
It looks like Al.
They do both look like L's, but this is the only one that's correct. Don't do that. Yeah, that's exactly what you shouldn't do.
You don't know your left and right, you're gonna get a car accident.
Yeah, true, John, very true. All right, this is why we don't have time for our homework. Back to this. Yep, you're right. I mean, so it's give or take. We'd have fun during class and enjoy each other's company, or you do your homework at home, or we just shut up and get to work and you do your homework at the end of class. Okay, it does sound boring. You're right, Jeff.
Homework is for home.
You're right, Sarah.
Work.
The rest of you, if you want to pay attention now. What's missing now from these moons that was on page 21 of your
Dark
packet?
Shade.
The dark side. So here's another thing you're going to have to figure out.
The shade.
If the sun's coming from the left, where is the dark side of the moon?
On the right.
On the right.
On the right, I'm definitely.
So you have to add that. So go through. So I did this first one. What's the dark side gonna look like if I was to go here?
The shade.
Exactly the same.
They're all the same, man.
They are all the same. So go ahead and quickly shade in the dark side of the moon.
I'm gonna need like a
Thank you.
big.
Yes, hence the reason I'm using a big Sharpie here. I am cheating.
Well, Ray don't wanna do that.
I'm only cheating because it would take me longer to color in if I was using a regular pen like you guys. So again, you know what side is dark because it's the side away from the sun. So that is not any like magic science there. The The side facing the sun is lit up. The side away from the sun is dark. So if you are doing an amazing job coloring right now and you aren't at least almost done, I need you to speed it up.
Come on.
Two more left.
I appreciate your coloring and I know it's fun, but speed it up.
Oh,
Well, good, then you are done? Okay. The other thing they're going to do to mess with you is change where the number 1 is. They're not always going to start number 1 on the new moon or the full moon. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna say number 1's at the top of the paper. And I'm gonna go clockwise around. So go ahead and number them. All right. Again, are there really 8 moons?
No.
No, there's only 8 phases of the moon. 1 moon that moves around the earth.
I bet there's a place out there that has things.
Oh yeah, there are other planets have more than 1 moon. And so they see different phases of each of the other moons.
There's some people there.
Okay,
Oh, no. There's people. How do you know?
Can I speak English?
all right, ready?
Oh,
So how do we go about figuring out what the name of moon number 1 is?
I would do that.
Okay, guys, back up here.
You have to take your thing and then.
You gotta take your papers. So the first thing you're gonna do, and I numbered it nicely, line it up so moon number 1 is even with your body. So that it almost seems like you're standing on this earth and looking up at the moon. And then, like you guys said, you cover up. Now, some of you, it appears, have lost your Post-it note. Do you need a fancy Post-it note to do this?
No.
No.
Just use your finger.
You can just use your finger. In fact, that's what I'm going to do.
That's probably
So
like.
I'm gonna cover up the back half of the moon. And remember, I know some of you get this without me going through the questions, but I like the questions. Is it all dark?
No.
Is it all light?
Oh.
Mostly light, mostly dark, half and half. See how if you were standing here, you would see a half and half moon.
Order.
So we know that that's a
Waning.
quarter.
Wait.
How do you know it's a waning
Because the
quarter?
dark side is on the right.
It is a waning because the light is on the left now. So, like I said, that's the second thing that you're going to have to be able to do is name them. Oh, hang on, all of you going ahead, hang on. You're skipping, oh, there's one more thing. So first thing you have to be able to do is if you see a picture, you have to name it. The second thing you have to do is if I point to here, you have to tell me it's a waning quarter. The third and final thing you're going to do down here on these blank moons is you now need to draw what a waning quarter will look like. So what do you know about quarters?
Half and half.
They're half and half, so that's right where I'm going to start. I'm gonna cut moon number 1 in half. No, we don't cut it into quarters. We're drawing what it looks like from Earth. So what does it looks like half and half? And because it's a waning quarter, which side's light?
What?
The left is light, so what do I color? The right. So in case you weren't catching on, this is moon number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll do one more with you and then I'm gonna have you do it on your own. Great. So now that we've labeled moon number 1 and drawn moon number 1, we're gonna move on to moon number 2. And what do you have to do for moon number 2? You gotta tilt your paper. Tilt your paper so that moon number 2 is lining up perfectly with your body. You line it up with your body so you can see what it would look like if this was you. So again, you take it and you cover up the back half. And you gotta do that same thing I've been asking you to do, is that mostly light, mostly dark, or half and half? Thank you. Mostly light. What moon, what kind of moon is mostly light? That's the gibbon. And is this guy a waxing or a waning gibbon?
Waiting,
Waning again, how do you know?
because the light is on the left.
Light's on the left.
Um,
This is the one people screw up when they're drawing it. So we need to draw a waning gibbous in spot number 2. Now keep in mind, waning gibbous is mostly
Like,
light. And it's waning, so the light's on the left. No, so I gotta draw mostly light. So I want the light on the left. So what do I color in?
probably not much.
Not much on what side? The right. So it'll look something like this. This is the one people screw up the most because they often are like that. They think that's a crescent. I'm gonna we'll do one more. Moon number 3. Line it up with your body. Cover up the back half. When they look up to it, what do they see? They see
All like
all,
a full moon.
they see all light. Remember your questions, all light, all dark, mostly light, mostly dark, or half and half. How do I draw a full moon then?
You don't vote.
I don't touch it. A full moon is all light. Now go ahead and finish it. So I see there's 2 ways of doing it. Some people are naming them all first. That's probably what I would do, not gonna lie. I would probably name them and then go draw them. Or you could draw them and name them and draw them as you go. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys work. I'm gonna come around and check. Okay, so I believe I've checked almost everybody's. Again, if you are still working, I will come around and check. These are the way the moons should look for the first round. Now we're gonna do it again. So I'm gonna change up a few things. I want you to go ahead and label it with the sun coming from the left now. And then we're going to, or I'm sorry, that's the right. And now we're gonna go counterclockwise around with our labeling. Because that's what the Regents is going to do, is change where the sunlight's coming from. And then just to wrap it up, don't forget your homework is that January 2023 test. We're doing questions 31 through 50.